What if I told you that some of the people the world labeled as insane were actually right all along? You know the type. The eccentric man shouting on a street corner about some government conspiracy. The woman who spends her life chasing down strange patterns no one else sees. The reclusive genius mocked for their strange beliefs. Society has a way of stuffing these people into a box labeled crazy, locking the lid and tossing the key. But what happens when the truth catches up? This is a story about those people, the so-called lunatics, obsessives, and outcasts who saw what others couldn't, who endured mockery, isolation, and even institutionalization, and were ultimately vindicated. These are not just stories of being proven right. They're stories of persistence, courage, and a kind of mad genius that refused to stay silent. So, buckle up. We're about to dive into a world of prophets in padded rooms, madmen with maps and whispers that turned into thunder. Because sometimes, being crazy is just seeing the truth before the rest of the world is ready. John Titor, the time traveler who warned us all. In November of 2000, an anonymous user logged into an internet forum and claimed to be a time traveler from the year 2036. He called himself John Titor. What followed was one of the most bizarre and captivating internet phenomena of the early web era. Titor described in detail the mechanics of his time machine, a device allegedly installed in a 1967 Chevrolet powered by a dual singularity gravity distortion unit. He shared photos of the machine's schematics and claimed it was built by General Electric. But more than the machine, it was his predictions that hooked people. He warned of a coming civil war in the United States, starting in 2004 and culminating in a global nuclear conflict in 2015. He spoke of political division, the rise of authoritarianism, the erosion of civil liberties, and the dangers of unchecked technology. People laughed. They dismissed him as a hoax, a prankster with too much time and imagination. But here's the eerie part. Not everything he said was wrong. Some of Titor's predictions came eerily close to real events. He spoke of a fractured U.S., widespread surveillance, and major technological shifts that mirror what we're living through now. He even described a future internet full of misinformation and algorithm-driven chaos. Before Facebook was even a thing, Titor disappeared from the forums in 2001, never to return. To this day, no one has conclusively proven who he was, or whether it was a group effort or an elaborate social experiment. But for a few strange months, the world listened to a supposed madman who might have been trying to warn us, and many now wonder if he wasn't so crazy after all. Ignaz Semmelweis, the doctor who fought death with soap. In the mid-1800s, hospitals were places you went to die, especially if you were a woman giving birth. At the Vienna General Hospital, there was a grim pattern. Women in the doctor-run maternity ward were dying of puerperal fever, also known as childbed fever, at an alarming rate. Meanwhile, those who gave birth in the midwife-run ward had significantly lower mortality. Enter Ignaz Semmelweis, a Hungarian physician with a troubled stare and an obsessive mind. He noticed the difference. He couldn't unsee it, and he became obsessed with the question, why? It wasn't just numbers to him. These were lives. Young women, mothers, dying by the dozens. Semmelweis dug in. He tracked every death, every symptom, every practice. And then, the breakthrough. He realized that doctors were going directly from performing autopsies to delivering babies without washing their hands. Let that sink in. Semmelweis proposed a radical idea. What if doctors washed their hands with a chlorine solution before examining patients? Mortality rates plummeted. He was ecstatic. He had saved lives. He had solved the mystery. He expected praise. Instead, ridicule. Doctors were offended. They didn't like the implication that they were the cause of death. Hand washing was seen as unnecessary, even insulting. Semmelweis was dismissed. His methods were ignored. He was mocked, isolated, and eventually committed to an asylum. He died there, alone, forgotten. Years later, germ theory would prove him right. Louis Pasteur, Joseph Lister, they would become legends. Semmelweis? He became a cautionary tale. The man who screamed the truth into a world that refused to listen. Gary McKinnon, the hacker who found evidence of UFOs. Gary McKinnon was just an unemployed British systems administrator with a fascination for UFOs and conspiracy theories. In the early 2000s, he decided to take his curiosity to the next level. Between 2001 and 2002, McKinnon hacked into 97 United States military and NASA computers from the comfort of his girlfriend's aunt's house in London. What was he looking for? Evidence. Proof that the U.S. government was hiding alien technology, or worse, hiding actual contact with extraterrestrials. What he found, or claimed to find, was extraordinary. McKinnon said he discovered folders labeled non-terrestrial officers, lists of names of ships not registered anywhere on Earth, and documents suggesting the existence of a secret space fleet. He claimed there were photos of unidentified flying crafts, edited to remove certain features, and spreadsheets detailing off-world personnel assignments. The U.S. government wasn't amused. McKinnon was accused of causing over $700,000 in damage, shutting down critical systems including military logistics. They labeled it the biggest military computer hack of all time and demanded his extradition. But McKinnon wasn't trying to cause damage. He was searching for the truth. His legal battle lasted a decade. He faced 70 years in prison. In the end, the UK refused to extradite him, citing his fragile mental health. To this day, people debate whether McKinnon actually found anything meaningful or if it was a combination of misinterpreted files and wild imagination. But one thing is certain. A so-called crazy guy dug so deep into government servers that the US came down on him like a hammer. Whatever he saw, and real or not, they definitely didn't want it shared. William Binney, the spy who blew the whistle before Snowden. Before Edward Snowden became a household name, there was William Binney, a decorated mathematician and high-ranking official at the National Security Agency, NSA. Binney helped design programs that intercepted global communications to detect threats. He believed in protecting people, but he also believed in civil liberties. In the wake of 9/11, Binney noticed something chilling. The system he helped build was being repurposed against American citizens, without warrants, without oversight. He blew the whistle. In 2002, a full decade before Snowden, Binney went public, claiming that the NSA was spying on U.S. citizens in violation of the Constitution. He said their surveillance was far more expansive than anyone imagined, that they were collecting data on everyone. Emails, phone calls, metadata. People called him paranoid, a disgruntled former employee, a conspiracy theorist. Then things got darker. Binney's home was raided by the FBI, guns drawn, computers seized, all without formal charges. The mainstream media barely noticed. Most people dismissed him. Then, in 2013, Snowden dropped his bombshell. Everything Binney said was true. The NSA was collecting data on everyone. The surveillance state was real. Overnight, Binney went from crazy old spook to the guy who tried to warn us. He still speaks out today, fighting against unchecked surveillance and the erosion of privacy. Quiet, intense, unflinching. A man who saw the truth and paid the price for trying to share it. Rachel Carson, the woman who spoke for the Silent Spring. In the 1950s, the world loved pesticides. They were seen as the future, the miracle solution to bugs, crop disease, and hunger. DDT was sprayed everywhere, on farms and cities, even on children at picnics. It was science at its most triumphant. Enter Rachel Carson. A marine biologist with a poet's soul, Carson saw something everyone else missed. Death. Not human at first, but birds, bees, frogs. A stillness settling over forests and meadows that once rang with life. She started asking questions, and the answers horrified her. DDT, she realized, wasn't just killing pests. It was poisoning the entire food chain, contaminating water, weakening birds' eggs, disrupting ecosystems. And worse, humans were next. She wrote Silent Spring, a book that dared to challenge the might of chemical companies and government regulators. She was called hysterical, unqualified, anti-progress. One reviewer suggested she was just a spinster with a grudge against science, but Carson didn't stop. Her book became a sensation and a target. Chemical companies ran smear campaigns. She was invited to testify before Congress. Her voice, calm but relentless, carried the weight of truth. The world listened. Within a decade, DDT was banned in the U.S. Her work led to the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency. She didn't live to see it. Cancer took her in 1964. But her warning echoed through generations. Rachel Carson wasn't crazy. She was a prophet of the planet, sounding the alarm before the rest of us even heard the silence. Clair Patterson, the man who fought lead and won. In the 1940s, geochemist Clair Patterson set out to determine the age of the Earth. To do that, he needed to measure the levels of lead in ancient rocks with extreme precision. But something kept contaminating his samples. Lead. And it was everywhere. Patterson realized the environment was saturated with lead contamination far beyond natural levels. The source? Tetraethyl lead, a gasoline additive used widely in the U.S. He was horrified. Lead was a known neurotoxin, and Patterson believed it was silently poisoning the public, especially children. He launched a scientific crusade, publishing damning research and battling powerful interests in the oil and automotive industries. Companies like General Motors and Standard Oil fought back hard, discrediting his work and trying to silence him. Despite the opposition, Patterson persisted for decades. His work led to the 1970s Clean Air Act amendments, and eventually to the phasing out of leaded gasoline. Blood lead levels in the U.S. population dropped dramatically. Clair Patterson wasn't just a brilliant scientist. He was a whistleblower, a protector of public health, and a man once ridiculed for his paranoia who ended up saving millions. They called them mad, paranoid, obsessed, delusional, but history gave them a different title, right. From doctors who battled death with soap, to astronomers who read the stars differently, to engineers, whistleblowers, hackers, and scientists who refused to shut up. These people didn't just see what others missed. They stood by it when it nearly destroyed them, and they changed the world. Maybe the lesson isn't just to trust every wild theory, but to stop automatically dismissing the people who see the world differently. Because sometimes that crazy voice in the corner, it's the first whisper of truth. So here's the challenge. The next time you hear an idea that sounds outrageous, don't laugh. Listen, question more, dig deeper, think independently, because today's lunatic might just be tomorrow's legend. If this story made you think, made you feel something, share it, drop a like, subscribe for more untold truths and unforgettable stories. The next crazy person who was right might already be out there, and we're going to find them.